Hi, Tom Jeffries at House Street's channel here on YouTube.com. Thank you for coming by. Beautiful Wall Center Hotel here in beautiful sunny downtown Vancouver. Our guest is Jeff Rubin. Mr. Rubin's new book sure got my attention. Everybody else's. Why Your World is About to Get a Whole Lot Smaller. Jeff, welcome to Vancouver.
Good to be here.
In 3 sentences less, what is the crux of this latest book?
The crux of this latest book is that oil is going back to triple-digit levels, and the whole model of globalization is no longer going to work because distance costs money.
One of the things that got my attention too in the first couple of chapters as I was eating my salmon, I don't think a lot of people really think about the fact is where our food comes from. Talk about a little bit about the logistics of food.
Well, last year China exported over $6 billion worth of food to North America, and that's not just bunker oil to move the ships, it's also bunker oil to refrigerate. It's just not going to make sense for us to be importing food from halfway around the world when oil costs triple digits. We're going to have to go back and grow our own.
Talk about some of the numbers of oil. We hear from our friends at OPEC and those regular customers that say, hey, we've got lots of oil. Production levels we can maintain. Give us a few words on that.
Well, it's not that the world's running out of oil in some absolute geological sense. There's oil in sand, there's oil in shale. What the world's running out of is the kind of oil that you can afford to burn, the kind of oil that you can put in your car, the kind of oil that powers your entire way of life.
Talk about the pollution in the tar sands and up in Alberta is just phenomenal. And if you said it keeps going, it's going to wreck it for the next couple thousand years.
Well, I'm saying this is where tomorrow's supply is coming from. Like, sure, there's 165 billion barrels of oil in the oil sands, but the kind of oil prices that we're going to need to see to take that oil out of the sand are the very same oil prices that are taking you off the road.
We saw a little dip when we got to the triple digits. People said, okay, back to the small cars. We talked about some of those new fancy hybrids. All of a sudden, gas goes down. Everybody's back in their Hummers.
Well, let's just talk about this dip. I mean, oil's roughly $70 a barrel.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're in what we're told by the economists is the deepest recession in the post-war period, not just in Canada, but in the entire oil-consuming world, and oil's $70 a barrel. Well, gee, today's depressed $70 barrel price, 4 or 5 years ago, that was an all-time record high. Yeah. Now that's where we are in a deep recession. Where do you think oil will be in the future?
I was also horrified about ethanol. You did some of the math about the corn and feedstock. What do they think of this ethanol deal?
Well, but behind the clear, clean-looking ethanol is a whole lot of natural gas and oil and coal. I mean, corn doesn't just grow itself. It doesn't just march itself down to the distillery plant and turn itself into ethanol. That takes a whole lot of hydrocarbons. 75% of the energy that you see in corn-based ethanol is basically hydrocarbons.
And it takes it out of the food chain. Everything comes from corn. You talked about feedstock for just about everything that we put on our plate.
That's right. And quite apart from ethanol, when we look at modern agriculture today, modern agriculture is really about turning hydrocarbons into food. And the challenge that poses for us is, does peak oil meet peak food?
You talked about King Hubbard and the peak oil theory. Well, things have sure changed since Hubbard said that back in the early 70s. Now we've got a whole other half of the world that actually have cars. Back in 1980, 70, and 60, China, they were still on foot.
And that's why, I think 50 million North Americans are going to be parking their cars in the next 10 years. And the obvious question is, well, doesn't that make the price of oil fall? Unfortunately, for everybody who's about to take the exit lane at this side of the world, there's 10 people lining up to get on the highways in places like China and India.
Do you believe as we're standing here in early 2009, halfway through, that GM is no more as we knew it?
Well, the question I have to ask is, why are we spending billions of dollars propping up an industry that's doomed to obsolescence by triple-digit oil prices? Why don't we invest in our future, not our past? When 50 million North Americans park their car, is there going to be a bus to get on? Right now, there isn't. It's public transit that we should be investing in, not single-passenger cars.
Let's talk about the future and how maybe some solutions besides that one you just put out, Jeff.
Well,
what do you think we should be doing?
I mean, I think the solution is triple-digit oil prices because you know what? When oil's like $2.50 a liter, no one's going to have to read my book to know what to do. Folk are going to exactly figure it out all for themselves. And I think that triple-digit oil prices is going to lead to a new way of life. I don't think it has to be apocalyptic.
Right.
It's only apocalyptic if we're going to commute 40 miles to work and back in our SUVs and bring our food in from 10,000 miles away. You know, but if we're willing to change our lifestyle, I think we can adapt, and I think the new smaller world around the corner may just be a whole lot bigger than the bigger world, better than the bigger world we're about to leave behind.
Another issue you bring up brilliantly in this book is about water and desalination and how we need petroleum to power that. That's a very tricky thing.
Well, you know, I mean, the very countries that we're expecting to supply us with oil in the future are the very countries where oil consumption is growing the most rapidly. And for countries like Saudi Arabia, it's not peak oil, it's peak water. They're running out of water, but what they do have is a lot of oil and a lot of salt water.
Right.
Oil plus salt water equals fresh water. You know what they pay in those desalination plants for the oil that they burn? 3 cents a gallon. The more oil that goes up their smokestacks, guess what? The less oil they're sending here, and the more expensive what they are sending will be.
I was horrified, too, at talking about ski hills in the middle of the desert. I mean, just really absurd, Jeff.
Well, you know what? It's their oil. And if they want to go and carve some turns on freshly made snow in a climate where you can fry an egg on the pavement, that's their call. But it's just, we shouldn't be expecting to get tomorrow's fuel supply from those people because they're going to be using it themselves.
Hurricane season's starting. You talked about Katrina and all those that hit
And I'm telling you, there's a reason why the Mayans never built their cities on the coastline. When you live somewhere for 1,000 years, you get to know the weather.
Indeed. I can't let you go without asking you quickly about the broader Canadian economy. We're in a recession. Do you think we're in a V-shape, a U-shape, or a long grinder?
Well, I mean, the story for Canada is the story for everybody else. I think it's triple-digit oil prices that caused the recession. The only problem with that is we probably have a rendezvous with those prices in the very near term. We can't do anything about the return of triple-digit oil prices, but we can do things to make sure that when that happens again, it doesn't send us back into recession, and that's to wean our economy and our lifestyles off burning oil.
I'll never say this again. Drill, baby, drill. When you heard that, what was your reaction?
There's nowhere left to drill. I mean, put it this way. When the world's spending billions of dollars on oil sands, where you got to schlep 2 tons of sand, burn 1,400 cubic feet, pollute 250 gallons of water to make a single barrel of synthetic oil, doesn't that say something about where world oil supply is today?
I think we're going to face a change. Jeff, it's been a pleasure meeting you, seeing you on TV so many times. The book is just terrific. Why Your World is About to Get a Whole Lot Smaller. Jeff Rubin.
My pleasure.
Good to see you.
Take care.
Tom Jeffries at HowStreet.com here in Vancouver, and also on the YouTube channel. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again soon.
Comments made on How Street Video and HowStreet.com are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at HowStreet.com. How Street Video is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.